You think you know the story of Elizabeth and Andrei. You think you watched a classic case of opposites attract, a whirlwind romance that started in the rainy streets of Dublin and ended up causing chaos in Florida. But what if I told you that everything you saw, every fight, every tear, and every dramatic confrontation was actually written down in a notebook months before the cameras ever started rolling? We are not talking about producer manipulation here. We are talking about something much darker and much more calculated. We are talking about a script written by the couple themselves. Elizabeth's former best friend, a woman who stood by her side during those critical early days and then suddenly vanished from the face of the earth after season 5, has reportedly resurfaced. And she is not just back to say hello. According to exploding new rumors and insider reports, she is back with the smoking gun that could bring this entire empire crashing down. She claims she was in the room when Elizabeth and Andrei drafted their relationship timeline to pitch to TLC. The allegation is simple but devastating. They were never in love. They were business partners trying to get famous, and the maid of honor has the original notes to prove it. Before we open the files and play the audio that Libby's family allegedly tried to bury, do me a favor. If you want the truth that the network edits out, if you want the deep dives that the cast members are terrified of, you need to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We are exposing the secrets they signed contracts to hide. Don't miss out. Let's go back to the beginning, or at least the beginning they sold to us. The official narrative is romantic, almost like a movie. Elizabeth visits Dublin, meets a rugged, alpha male bouncer named Andrei, and falls head over heels. It is the perfect setup for a 90-day fiancé storyline. But insiders have always whispered that the timeline never quite added up. Why did Elizabeth's best friend, the one person who knew her better than anyone, suddenly disappear from the show? She wasn't camera shy. She was featured prominently in the early footage. Then, silence. For years, fans assumed she just moved away or had a falling out over something trivial. But new reports suggest she didn't leave. She was silenced. We have received details regarding a leaked voice note, allegedly from this former best friend, that paints a terrifying picture of the reality behind the romance. In this audio, the voice is shaking, sounding exhausted and fearful of legal repercussions. She allegedly says, "I cannot lie to them anymore." Andrei did not even like her back then. It was a deal. It was a casting call. This brings us to the context, and this is crucial for understanding how a lie of this magnitude could be pulled off. We have to look at the reality TV casting process. Most people think couples apply, and TLC picks the most dramatic ones. That is true to an extent. But there is a darker side to the industry, a side where aspiring actors and fame seekers reverse engineer their relationships to fit the network's needs. The theory gaining massive traction right now is that Elizabeth and Andrei were not two lovers fighting for a visa. They were two actors fighting for a contract. We have dug into the archives, and sources suggest that their meeting wasn't chance. It wasn't destiny. The narrative suggests they met on a talent website specifically designed for aspiring actors and models looking for cross-border collaboration. This wasn't a dating app. This was a casting database. Think about it. Elizabeth had acting aspirations. She had a history of trying to break into the entertainment industry. Andrei had the look, the presence, and the desire to leave his current situation. The allegation is that they connected not as soulmates, but as business partners. They allegedly realized that a standard visa application wouldn't get them airtime. They needed a hook. They needed friction. And most importantly, they needed a villain. This leads us to the overlooked protagonist of this entire scandal, the casting director. Deep within the production notes of that season, there is rumored to be a file from a former TLC employee who vetted their application. This employee, who has since left the network, allegedly noted in their initial file a very specific observation. The note reportedly read, "Chemistry seems forced and physical interaction is awkward, but the family drama potential is gold. Proceed with caution. Proceed with caution." That is the phrase that should have stopped everything. But it didn't, because the family drama was exactly what the network wanted. And this is where the genius and the horror of the plan comes into play. If the insiders are correct, Elizabeth and Andrei knew that their lack of natural romantic chemistry would be a problem. So, they decided to distract the audience. They decided to lean into the one thing they knew would sell, the alpha male versus the protective family. This brings us to the smoking gun. This is the piece of evidence that has Libby's camp reportedly scrambling for their lawyers. We are talking about the script notebook. Photos have recently surfaced on underground forums, allegedly leaked by the best friend, showing a battered, spiral-bound notebook from 2017. The handwriting is distinctive. Handwriting analysts who have looked at the samples claim it is a near-perfect match for Elizabeth's penmanship. But it is not a diary. It is not a journal of a woman in love. It is a storyboard. The pages are titled with headings like plot points and character arcs. Under the heading for Andrei, the notes allegedly list traits to emphasize: alpha male persona, controlling about food, phone snatching, refusal to work. These aren't observations of a behavior. They read like stage directions. They read like a character sheet for a villain that the audience loves to hate. Under the section for the family, the notes get even more specific. There are bullet points that align perfectly with the scenes we saw play out on television. Fight with dad over money. Sister jealousy, arc wedding dress critique. Is it possible that the most iconic moments of their franchise run were not spontaneous emotional outbursts, but calculated scenes ticked off a checklist? The best friend claims that she was in the room when this notebook was written. She claims she sat on the bed in Elizabeth's room while they brainstormed what would make Andrei look the most intimidating. She alleges that Andrei practiced his scowl in the mirror, asking if he looked aggressive enough to scare her father. This completely reframes the narrative of the first season. Remember the scene where Andrei snatches the phone from Elizabeth's hand? It was shocking. It established him as controlling and possessive. But if you watch it again with this theory in mind, look at Elizabeth's reaction. Does she look genuinely afraid? Or does she look like she is waiting for a cue? Does she look like she is holding back a smile because the take went exactly as planned? The best friend alleges that the phone snatching was rehearsed 3 times before they filmed it for the show. She claims they laughed about it afterward, high-fiving over how much the audience was going to hate him. But why would the friend stay silent for so long? Why vanish for years only to resurface now? This is where the betrayal cuts deep. The narrative emerging from these leaks is one of profound manipulation. The friend didn't just leave. She was allegedly cut off with surgical precision. When the show began to air and the fame started to roll in, the dynamic changed. The friend, who thought she was part of the inner circle, part of the team that created this masterpiece of deception, started to feel the weight of the lie. She allegedly told Elizabeth that she couldn't keep pretending, that the family fights were getting too real, and that the deception was hurting real people. According to the theory, Libby didn't try to comfort her. She didn't try to reason with her. She went on the offensive. Reports suggest that Elizabeth used her father's extensive legal connections to intimidate the friend into silence. We are hearing about a cease and desist letter sent in late 2018, effectively banning the friend from speaking about the production, the relationship, or the notebook. It was a brutal end to a 10-year friendship. The friend was discarded to protect the asset. And the asset was the brand. The asset was the couple. But NDAs expire. Statutes of limitations run out. And guilt has a way of eating you alive. The friend has allegedly been watching from the sidelines as Elizabeth and Andrei expanded their empire, bought houses, and spun off into more and more seasons. She watched as the lies she helped construct became their reality. And now, she has reportedly reached her breaking point. The leaked audio is just the warning shot. The rumors suggest she is preparing to release the full contents of the notebook, page by page, proving that the fights were staged, the tension was manufactured, and the love was a fabrication. The implications of this are massive. We are not just talking about angry fans. We are talking about the legal threat, fraud, and breach of contract. When you sign a contract with a network like TLC to appear on a show about international romance and the K-1 visa process, there is a clause about authenticity. You have to verify that the relationship is bona fide. If the network finds out that the premise of their casting was a total fabrication, that the couple was essentially running a con on the production company, the consequences could be catastrophic. We are talking about the potential for lawsuits to recoup millions of dollars in production costs. If TLC was defrauded, they are the victims here, and they have the lawyers to destroy the couple financially. Imagine the courtroom drama. The notebook was introduced into evidence. The best friend taking the stand. Producers testifying that they were duped. It would be the biggest scandal in the history of reality television. But there is another layer to this theory, one that makes it even more complex. What if the family knew? What if Chuck, The father, who always seemed so skeptical, was actually the financier of the script. Some theorists believe that the notebook contains handwriting from him as well. The idea is that the family saw an opportunity to boost their real estate business and their public profile, and they used the show as a vehicle. Andrei wasn't an intruder. He was a hired actor brought in to shake things up and get the family name in the press. This would explain why, despite all the threats, the fights, and the insults, Chuck continues to bankroll them. It would explain why the sisters, who claim to hate Andrei, constantly engage with him in ways that guarantee screen time. It is a family business, but the business isn't houses. The business is drama, and business is booming. Let's look deeper at the Dublin lie. The story goes that Elizabeth was on vacation, but travel records that have allegedly been dug up by internet sleuths tell a different story. These reports suggest that Elizabeth's trip to Dublin coincided perfectly with a casting call event held in the city for international talent. Was she there for tourism, or was she there for an audition? And Andrei, who was working as a bouncer, was he just a guy at a door, or was he a regular at these casting events, looking for his ticket to America? There is a specific scene in their first season that insiders are pointing to as the ultimate proof of their acting. It is the scene where Andrei meets the family for the first time. The tension is thick. The questions are invasive. But watch Andrei's eyes. He doesn't look nervous. He doesn't look defensive. He looks bored. He looks like a man who has memorized his lines and is waiting for the other actors to finish theirs. And Elizabeth? She is looking at the camera, not at him. She is checking her angles. She is monitoring the scene, not living it. The Best Friends leaked audio reportedly goes into detail about this specific dinner. She says, "I remember them rehearsing the questions in the car. Libby told her dad, ask him about the past, make it sound suspicious. And Andrei said, I will just stay silent. It makes me look dangerous." They high-fived. They literally high-fived over how they were going to manipulate the audience. If this is true, it changes everything. It means that every time you yelled at your TV, every time you defended Libby or attacked Andrei, you were playing right into their hands. You were the product. Your outrage was their currency, and they spent it well. But the cracks are showing. The acting is getting stale, and the best friend, the one loose and they forgot to tie up, is holding the match that could burn it all down. We have to ask ourselves, why now? Why is this information coming out at this specific moment? Is it because the friend is jealous? Or is it because she has seen something recently that scared her? There are rumors that the script didn't stop at the wedding. The notebook allegedly outlines a 5-year plan. Step 1, marriage. Step 2, baby. Step 3, family business conflict. Step 4, spinoff. We are currently living in Step 4. And if the notebook is accurate, we know exactly what Step 5 is. And it is not a happy ending. Step 5, according to the alleged leak, is the betrayal and divorce arc. A calculated split designed to launch 2 separate single-life reality careers. Is that what we are seeing seeds of now? The tension seems to be shifting. The arguments are getting repetitive. Is this the beginning of the end of the script? Or did they lose the script and start improvising? The friend claims the script runs out soon, and that is when the real danger begins. Because when 2 people who built a marriage on a lie run out of plot points, all that is left is the reality of strangers living in the same house. Andrei's past has always been a point of contention. The sudden move to Ireland, the reluctance to talk about his life in Moldova. The show presented this as a dark secret. But the theory suggests his past isn't dark, it's just boring. The detective storyline, the problems back home storyline, all allegedly fabrications to give him depth. The friend claims Andrei is actually a very mild-mannered guy who loves gardening and hates confrontation. Imagine that. The alpha male who threatens to fight everyone is actually a quiet introvert who is just doing a job. It sounds impossible, but look at the moments when the cameras are down in the background of social media posts. You don't see the snarl. You see a regular dad. The monster is a mask, and the mask is slipping. If you think the script stopped at the border, you are sadly mistaken. The notebook that Elizabeth's former best friend allegedly saw wasn't just a plan for the 90 days. It was a blueprint for a dynasty. To understand the depth of this fabrication, we have to look at what insiders are calling the lost months. There is a gap in the timeline, a period between Andrei's arrival in the United States and the moment the show started airing, where the official story goes dark. But according to the whistleblower, this was the most active period of all. This was the rehearsal phase. The friend claims that during these months, the couple didn't just live together, they studied. They reportedly watched hours of previous 90-day Fiancé seasons, analyzing which couples got the most screen time and why. They realized a pattern. Pure love gets you one season. Toxic family dynamics get you a franchise. The allegations suggest they treated their relationship like a startup company. They allegedly held weekly strategy meetings with key members of the family. This is where the theory takes a darker turn involving Elizabeth's brother, Charlie. We all know Charlie. He is the antagonist, the instigator, the man who famously grabbed the microphone at his sister's wedding to insult the groom. But what if I told you that Charlie isn't the villain? What if Charlie is the most committed actor of them all? The script, Notebook, reportedly contains a section dedicated solely to the rivalry. The notes allegedly outline a slow-burn conflict between the alpha groom and the skeptical brother-in-law. The friend claims that in reality, Charlie and Andrei actually got along quite well in the beginning. They bonded over real estate and business ambitions. But a friendship doesn't sell ads. A few does. So, the narrative was crafted. Charlie was assigned the role of the agitator. He was the one tasked with asking the questions the audience was thinking. Why is he here? Is he using you? What about his past? The friend alleges that the infamous wedding speech in Moldova wasn't a drunken mistake. It was a planned climax to the season, a red wedding moment designed to secure a renewal contract for the next year. However, the whistleblower notes that this is where the lines began to blur. The danger of method acting is that eventually, you forget you are pretending. The friend claims that Charlie started to resent the role he was playing. He was taking the heat from the fans, getting hate mail, looking like a fool, while Andrei and Elizabeth played the victims and raked in the sympathy. The tension we see now, the real anger in Charlie's eyes, might not be about Andrei stealing his sister. It might be about Andrei stealing the spotlight in a show they were supposed to be co-starring in. Let's dig deeper into the Moldova wedding arc, because this is where the production value of their script allegedly skyrocketed. The entire premise of the second wedding was shaky. They were already married. They had a child. Why go to Moldova for a massive ceremony in the middle of a pandemic? The official reason was religious tradition. The alleged real reason? They needed a new location to freshen up the plot. The Notebook supposedly listed culture clash as a major theme for Season 5. The friend claims that the fights regarding the peasant food, the language barrier, and the brothers' questions were all prearranged beats. There is a specific detail about the fist fight scene that the whistleblower points to. Do you remember the physical altercation that almost happened between Andrei and Charlie? It looked chaotic. It looked dangerous. But slow it down, frame by frame. The friend claims that if you look closely, you can see them telegraphing their moves. It's the same way stuntmen communicate before a punch is thrown. A slight nod, a shift in weight. The allegation is that they choreographed that scuffle in the hotel room the night before to ensure no one actually got hurt, but that it looked violent enough to make the trailer. The best friend alleges she received a text message from Elizabeth during that trip that read, "We got the shot. Dad is freaking out perfectly. This is going to be huge. We got the shot. Not we had a fight. Not I'm so upset. We got the shot." That is the language of a producer, not a bride. And what about the sisters? Becky and Jen. They are the Greek chorus of this tragedy, always there to stir the pot. The theory suggests they negotiated their own subclauses in this family contract. The sister jealousy arc is a staple of their storyline. They constantly complain that their dad is bankrolling Andrei, that Elizabeth is the favorite. But follow the money. Reports indicate that the Potthast family real estate business has seen a massive influx of leads and traffic since the show began. The show acts as a gigantic, international commercial for their flipping business. The sisters aren't mad at Andrei for taking money. They are playing a game of good cop, bad cop to keep the Potthast name relevant. If everyone got along, they would be bored. If they fight, they are famous. The friend claims that the sisters have a group chat without Elizabeth and Andrei, where they coordinate their outfits and their insults before filming begins. This brings us to the financial trail, which is perhaps the most damning evidence of a business partnership disguised as a marriage. Public records show that Elizabeth and Andrei formed an LLC together very early in their marriage. That's not unusual for couples, but the timing and the nature of the business are suspicious. The The friend alleges that the LLC was set up to funnel appearance fees and brand deal revenue in a way that protected it from individual liability, specifically to protect it if the fake marriage ever had to be dissolved legally. The notebook allegedly contains an exit strategy clause. This is the part that chills the blood. It outlines a scenario where, after 5 to 7 years of milking the franchise, they would stage a growing apart storyline. This would allow them to pivot into new demographics, the single mom influencer and the eligible bachelor. The friend claims that Elizabeth is currently terrified because they are approaching the timeline for the exit strategy, but the money is too good to stop. They are trapped in the roles they created. This is where the psychological toll becomes undeniable. You can see it in Elizabeth's face in the recent seasons. That look of exhaustion, it's not just parenting. It's the exhaustion of a woman who has to lie to the world every single day. The friend says in the voice note, "She doesn't know who she is anymore. She calls me crying, asking if she's actually happy or if she's just playing the character of a happy wife. She can't tell the difference." Let's talk about the casting director again. We mentioned the note in the file earlier, but new theories suggest this goes even higher up the chain. There is a rumor circulating on industry message boards that TLC producers are not the victims of this fraud, but the architects. The theory posits that the network identifies couples with scripting potential, couples who are desperate enough for fame that they will agree to follow a loose narrative provided by the writers. In this version of events, the notebook wasn't written by Elizabeth and Andrei alone. It was co-written with a field producer during a developmental meeting. This would explain why the cameras always seem to be in the perfect position to catch the spontaneous fights. It would explain why the audio is always crystal clear during arguments that supposedly happen in the heat of the moment. The best friend story takes a terrifying turn when we look at the specific moment she was silenced. It wasn't just a letter. It was an ambush. She claims she was invited to lunch by Elizabeth under the pretense of reconciliation. When she arrived, Elizabeth wasn't alone. A man she identified as a legal consultant for the family was there. They allegedly laid it out for her. "You signed a release form to appear on the show." That release form has a non-disparagement clause with a penalty of $50,000 per violation. They threatened to bankrupt her if she whispered a word about the notebook or the rehearsal tapes. She left that lunch shaking, deleted her social media, and went dark. Until now. Why return? Because she claims she found a copy of the original draft in her old cloud storage. She didn't realize she had it. It's a photo she took of the notebook on a whim back in 2017 just to make fun of how serious they were taking it. Now, that photo is her insurance policy. We have described the notebook, but we haven't detailed the most shocking page, the deportation scare. Every couple needs a terrifying external force. For them, it was the threat of Andrei being sent back. The notebook allegedly lists visa issues as a key plot device to be deployed whenever ratings dipped. The friend claims that Andrei's immigration status was never actually in jeopardy during the later seasons. His paperwork was clean. The lawyer meetings? Staged. Panic attacks? Acting. The delays? Administrative fiction. They played on the xenophobia and the fear of the audience to create stakes where there were none. They manipulated your empathy for a problem that was already solved. And what about the homewrecker allegations? There have been rumors floating around that Andrei had a girl back in Moldova. The show teased this. The family interrogated him about it. The notebook allegedly reveals this was a red herring planted by the couple themselves. They wanted the audience to look for a scandal in the past, so they wouldn't look for the fabrication in the present. It's a classic magician's trick, misdirection. While you were busy wondering if Andrei was a cheater, you forgot to ask if he was an actor. The friend also sheds light on the phone-snatching incident's aftermath. We mentioned it was rehearsed, but the aftermath was where the real manipulation happened. She claims that after the episode aired, Elizabeth and Andrei monitored the social media reaction in real time. When the audience started calling Andrei abusive, they didn't panic. They celebrated. They knew they had triggered an emotional response. The friend alleges Andrei said, "Good, let them hate me." Hate is engagement. This creates a disturbing profile of a couple who are willing to simulate domestic toxicity for clicks. It trivializes real relationship issues for the sake of entertainment. It's not just a lie, it's a moral vacuum. Let's pivot to the green card interview. This is the holy grail of immigration anxiety. The best friend claims they did mock interviews for weeks, but not to pass the government test, to fail the camera test. They practiced looking suspicious. They practiced stumbling over answers about dates and favorite colors. They engineered the awkwardness. Why? Because a smooth interview is boring TV. A disastrous interview keeps you tuning in next week to see if they get approved. The level of cynicism required to plan your own stumbling, to intentionally look incompetent, is staggering. Now, consider the family therapy sessions. These are often the most painful scenes to watch. The family sits around a table, airing grievances. The friend claims these were the most heavily scripted segments of all. She alleges that before these scenes, the producers would separate the family members and feed them trigger lines. They would tell Chuck, "Andrei said you're a soft touch." They would tell Andrei, "Jen said you're a lazy bum." Then they would put them in a room and watch the fireworks. But Elizabeth and Andrei knew the game. The friend says they had a code word. If things got too real, if the insults cut too deep, one of them would say pineapple, and they would dial it back. Watch the therapy scenes again. Look for the moments where the anger suddenly dissipates, where they strangely calm down for no reason. That's the code word in action. The whistleblower also opens up about the leaked nudes scandal that rocked the franchise. Without getting too graphic, there was a controversy involving Elizabeth's past. The narrative on the show was that the conservative Moldovan family would be shamed. The friend claims this was total fabrication. She alleges that Andrei's family was fully aware of Elizabeth's past acting roles and didn't care. The shame was manufactured. They needed a cultural conflict, so they invented one. They painted his family as backward villagers to create a storyline, insulting an entire culture in the process just to sell a few more episodes. As we peel back these layers, we have to ask about the children. They are the only innocent parties in this Truman Show-esque nightmare. They are growing up on camera, surrounded by manufactured conflict. The friend expresses deep concern for them. She asks, what happens when the kids learn to read? What happens when they find the notebook? How do you explain to your daughter that the fight she cried over was written by her mommy and daddy on a Tuesday night to pay for the pool? This is the tragedy of the long con. It leaves collateral damage. There is also the matter of the spin-off pitch. The friend claims that the ultimate goal was never just to be on 90 Day Fiancé. The goal was the Potthast Family Rules, a standalone reality show in the vein of the Kardashians. The notebook allegedly features a logo sketch for this dream project. Every fight, every drink thrown, every family barbecue disaster was an audition tape for this standalone show. They weren't trying to survive the 90 days. They were trying to build a pilot. This explains why the family is so involved. They aren't a supporting cast. They are co-investors in a failed pilot that they are trying to force into existence. We also have to look at the social media blackout periods. Occasionally, Elizabeth and Andrei go quiet on Instagram. Fans speculate. Are they divorced? Are they fighting? The friend says these blackouts are scheduled. They are listed in the notebook under marketing tactics. Silence breeds speculation. Speculation breeds articles. Articles keep the algorithm fed. It is a machine. A cold, hard, fame-generating machine. The most recent update from the whistleblower involves a text message chain from late 2023. She claims she received an anonymous message, which she believes is from one of his sisters, likely Jen. The message simply said, "It's getting out of hand. He won't stick to the script anymore." This is a cryptic warning. Does it mean Andrei has gone rogue? Does it mean the lines between the character Andrei and the real Andrei have dissolved completely? If the actor becomes the mask, the script is no longer needed and the danger becomes real. The legal ramifications here are interesting. We talked about fraud, but what about the audience? Is there a class action lawsuit for emotional manipulation? Probably not. But the court of public opinion is ruthless. If these proofs, the photos of the notebook, the full audio recordings, the text chains, are released in full, the backlash will be unrecoverable. They won't just lose the show, they will lose the brand deals, the sponsorships, the influencer status. They will be left with a mortgage they can't pay and a marriage they might not even want. In the next part of this exposure, we are going to play the rest of the audio. We are going to discuss the exit strategy in detail, and we are going to look at the mole inside the production team who has been verifying these claims. We will also uncover the secret audition tape that Elizabeth sent to MTV years before she ever met Andrei. proving she was hunting for any reality show that would take her, regardless of the premise. The puzzle pieces are all there. You just have to be willing to see the picture they form. This isn't just about a fake relationship. It's about the industry of fake relationships. It's about how easy it is to fool millions of people if you have a notebook, a lack of shame, and a camera. But the curtain is being pulled back. My best friend is talking, and the script is about to be rewritten by the truth. Stay tuned, because what comes next connects Elizabeth to a network of other reality stars who share the same consultant. It turns out, there might be a script doctor in Hollywood who specializes in turning normal couples into reality TV train wrecks, and Elizabeth and Andrei were his star pupils. We promised you the connection to the script doctor, and this is where the rabbit hole goes deeper than just one couple in Florida. The best friend's allegations have opened a door to a much wider conspiracy known in the underground forums as the reality package. According to the whistleblower, Elizabeth and Andrei didn't just brainstorm this notebook on a napkin. They allegedly consulted with a freelance producer, a script doctor, who specializes in packaging normal people for reality TV consumption. This figure, often uncredited and paid in cash or consulting fees through obscure LLCs, reportedly sat down with them in early 2017 to audit their lives. The theory suggests that this consultant told them, "You are boring. Nobody cares about a nice guy from Moldova and a nice girl from Tampa. You need archetypes." This consultant allegedly gave them the villain/victim template. They were instructed to amplify specific traits until those traits became their entire personalities. This explains the rigidity of Andrei's alpha behavior. It's not natural. It's a performance based on a character sheet provided by an industry expert. The friend claims that she saw invoices for media training and brand narrative construction that date back to before the K. One visa was even approved. If this is true, it means they were investing in their storyline the same way a business invests in marketing. They were buying a personality because they knew it would yield a return on investment in the form of TLC paychecks. But the most damning piece of evidence regarding their thirst for fame isn't the notebook. It's the audition tape. Reports from former casting associates suggest that Elizabeth has a file floating around Hollywood that predates Andrei entirely. The rumors point to a leaked audition tape sent to MTV years ago, possibly for a show like The Real World or even The Bachelor. In this alleged tape, Elizabeth presents a completely different persona. She isn't the family-oriented, slightly naive girl we know. In this tape, she is reportedly the wild party girl, bragging about her ability to cause drama and manipulate men. Why does this matter? Because it proves that the persona is fluid. It proves that she was willing to be whoever the casting directors wanted her to be. When the party girl angle didn't work for MTV, she allegedly pivoted to the devoted fiancé for TLC. It suggests that Andrei was just the accessory she needed to unlock the door to fame that she had been banging on for years. He wasn't the love of her life. He was the key to the lock. The best friend claims that Elizabeth once joked, "If I hadn't met Andrei, I would have found a guy in Italy or France." The location didn't matter. The visa was the plot device. Now let's talk about the mole. While the best friend is the face of these allegations, she is not the only source. There is chatter about a disgruntled production assistant, a mole, who worked on the set of Happily Ever After. This source has allegedly corroborated the existence of the retakes. We are not talking about simple pickup shots. We are talking about entire arguments being refilmed because the lighting wasn't right or the insults weren't vicious enough. The mole claims there is a hot mic recording that the network has buried. In this alleged audio, captured between takes, Andrei drops the accent. Yes, you heard that correctly. The theory is that his heavy, broken English is exaggerated for effect. In the recording, he reportedly speaks to a producer in near-perfect, fluid English, discussing contract negotiations, only to switch back to the gruff immigrant voice when the director yells action. The mole also alleges that the famous family barbecue scenes are catered events where the family laughs and jokes together until the cameras roll. They describe a surreal atmosphere where Chuck and Andrei are sharing a beer and discussing football, and then, at the snap of a finger, they are screaming in each other's faces about money and disrespect. The emotional whiplash would be impossible for a normal person, but for actors committed to the bit, it's just another Tuesday. This brings us to the most terrifying part of the notebook, the exit strategy, or what the friend calls the divorce arc. We are currently seeing the seeds of this. The Notebook allegedly outlines that after maximizing the married life revenue stream, the couple needs to pivot to this single life market. This is the final phase of the plan. The narrative will shift from us against the world to we have grown apart. The plan allegedly involves a messy, public separation that will play out over social media and a dedicated season of the show. They will reportedly fight over custody, over the house, and over the business. But according to the theory, the assets have already been divided legally in prenuptial agreements that anticipate this exact moment. The fight will be theater. The custody battle will be a storyline. They will use their own divorce to launch two separate spin-off opportunities. Elizabeth as the single mom re-entering the dating scene, and Andrei as the misunderstood bachelor unleashed in Miami. The friend claims that Elizabeth has already registered domain names for a single mom lifestyle blog. If that doesn't scream premeditation, nothing does. But there is a flaw in the plan, the human element. The whistleblower suggests that while the script is solid, the actors are breaking. You can only pretend to hate your family for so long before the lines blur. You can only pretend to be an alpha jerk for so long before you actually become one. The rumors suggest that the fake fights are turning into real resentment. The acting is triggering actual psychological distress. Elizabeth is reportedly suffering from severe burnout, trapped in a prison of her own making. She can't tell the truth because it would destroy their income, but living the lie is destroying her soul. The best friend claims she is coming forward now because she wants to save Elizabeth from the season 10 finale, which she believes ends in total self-destruction. She says in the leaked voice note, "I'm not doing this to hurt her. I'm doing this to wake her up." She thinks she's controlling the narrative, but the narrative is eating her alive. She needs to put down the notebook and look at her life. So, where does this leave us, the viewers? We are the third point in this triangle of deception. We watch, we click, we comment. We fuel the algorithm that demands more drama, which forces them to write more extreme scripts. If the deportation scare was, if the family feud is a business arrangement, and if the love story was a casting pitch, then what are we watching? We are watching a modern-day soap opera presented as reality. We are watching a performance art piece about the desperation for fame in the 21st century. The legal threat remains the wild card. If TLC decides that the fraud has gone too far, that the fabrication breaches the morality clause of their contract, they could pull the plug. But let's be honest, TLC is in the business of entertainment, not truth. As long as we keep watching, they will keep filming. The only thing that can stop the script is apathy. If we stop believing, the show stops. But the best friend has one final bomb to drop. She claims that the notebook has a missing page. The last page. It was torn out in the photos she saw. She doesn't know what was on it. Was it a plan to disappear with the money? Was it a confession? Or was it the names of the next couple they plan to produce? There is a theory that Elizabeth and Andrei are looking to become producers themselves, using their blueprint to train the next generation of 90-Day stars. They want to become the puppet masters. Did you get fooled by the love story? Or did you see the acting from day one? Do you believe the best friend? Or do you think she's just looking for her own 15 minutes of fame? Look at the eyes. Look at the timing. Look at the money. The truth is often stranger than fiction, but in this case, the fiction is the truth. The next time you see Andrei snatch a phone or Chuck cry about his family falling apart, remember the notebook. Remember the rehearsal tapes. Remember the audition. And ask yourself, is this love or is it just good business? We're going to keep digging. We have investigators currently trying to recover the lost audition tape from the MTV archives. If we get our hands on that footage, it will be the final nail in the coffin of this charade. You do not want to miss that update. This story is far from over. In fact, the real reality show is just beginning. The one where the camera stops rolling, the lawyers get involved, and the truth finally comes out. If you want to be part of the team that exposes the industry secrets, if you want to see the documents that the network tries to scrub from the internet, you know what to do. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. We are the only channel brave enough to tell you what really happens behind the scenes. I'm signing off to meet with a source who claims to have the original casting director notes. Stay safe, stay skeptical, and remember, on reality TV, nothing is real but the ads. See you in the next video.